When I started out as a PT, I genuinely had no idea what I was doing. Sure, I understood all the fitnessy stuff. I knew what to do with the barbell. I knew how to squat, deadlift, and press. But trust me when I tell you that knowing how to coach these well, run great sessions, and keep your clients interested is a whole nother skill. And even if you're pretty good at doing all of these things, you're still only really halfway there to running a successful PT business. Because I don't know about you, but I did not get taught anything about taking payments, enforcing a cancellation policy, paying my taxes, or generating leads in my PT course. And I would bet good money that if you're watching this video, you didn't either. So what did I do? Well, I just gave it a go and I made a ton of mistakes through trial and error. So to save you the time, money, and stress, I'm sharing all those mistakes here. Here are 5 things I would do differently if I was starting all over again as a self-employed personal trainer. Number 1 is not sell blocks of sessions. New PTs seem to do this as standard. This is going to drive you insane, not only from an admin perspective, but also destroy your finances because you have monthly costs, right? Your rent, your bills, your gym rent, your subscriptions, but your income might be coming in every 10 weeks. How does that make any sense? It's so hard to plan around this and you will start to resent it when your clients go on holiday or when they cancel because that just delays and delays and delays your next paycheck. Now I'm grateful that I learned this one pretty quickly so that when PT became my full-time income, I was able to build up my monthly income quite steadily. So what you're gonna do instead, you're gonna take monthly payments and you are only gonna accept monthly payments. Yes, a lot of people will say, oh, but my old PT didn't do that. And usually they tell you a story about their old PT moving out of London or their old PT moving out of the fitness industry and going back to their old job. And my question would be, why did they have to do that? Probably because they could not make it work financially to stay in the industry. We've all heard those stats that something crazy like 80% of people leave the industry within the first year. So it is so important that you protect yourself financially and get this right so you can actually make it a sustainable career and an enjoyable one. So sure, some clients, some people might be resistant to this, but once you actually explain to them why you're doing it and how it works and reassure them that you're not just trying to take their money and that you're actually trying to provide them a better service as a result, people will be very open and willing to do this. I've never had any problem with it, and honestly, your long-term regular clients will respect you for doing this and want to support you. Actually, I did have one person that didn't want to go onto monthly payments. I ended up not working with them in the end anyway, largely because I knew that it would be more hassle than it was worth for me to be constantly chasing them, rebilling them, not be able to enforce my cancellation policy. It's just so very difficult to run a business in this way. If you're someone that is a part-time personal trainer or maybe doing this on the side of a full-time job, then this might work better for you. But if this is going to be your full-time thing, your main source of income, then honestly, trust me when I say that this is going to change your life and make you so much less stressed financially and feel so much more secure in your job. And if you do face any resistance, like I said, explain to people how it works. And most of the time there will be very little to no problem. If there is a problem and they are still super resistant because they don't want to commit, then maybe they are not the best client to take on anyway. In my experience, the clients that are a pain in the ass right at the beginning are usually a pain in the ass the whole time you work with them. There is no denying that you need recurring revenue to pay your bills. And when I started doing this, it took me a while to get my head around how it works. So let me properly explain. So you assume 4 weeks every single month. Obviously that's not the case. Sometimes there's 4.5, almost 5 weeks. That means we assume a 48-week year. So you are charging your clients for a 48-week year, even though there are 52 weeks in the year. This means you're already accounting for some built-in holiday. So if a client is paying for 2 sessions a week, you're going to charge them for 8 sessions a month. Yeah, sometimes you might do 9 sessions with them, even 10 sessions with them. But then when either of you go on holiday for a week or 2, it doesn't matter. Because let's say you might have done 9 sessions with them in May and June. So if you're only around to do 7 in July, it all balances out. Are you with me? So when you or your client go away, you've already accounted for that holiday and you don't have to forego any of your payments. Of course, this is usually a huge worry for self-employed people when they go on holiday, that then you don't have any income. So by doing it this way, it means you can go away stress-free and actually enjoy your holiday and come back the best version of yourself, way more energized and able to give much more to your clients. If you have any questions about that system, pop them below. Like I said, it took me a while to get my head around it, so I'm more than happy to answer anything. Number 2, still on the theme of payments, do not send invoices. I cannot emphasize this enough. This doesn't only create an extra admin role for you, but also takes that steady monthly income completely out of your hands. And you might not get paid for a week or two because people are paying invoices late. It's also such a faff for your clients. So it's not even about systemizing it so that people don't realize they're getting charged. That is not the case at all. It's more faff for literally everyone involved, because who actually pays invoices on time? I know if I was a client, I would much rather it just be dealt with without me having to move money around and faff with it. Plus, then your clients are faced with the choice every month. They see that number written down and you almost kind of have to resell them. Let's say someone does decide they don't want to pay their invoice that month. You've just then lost a huge chunk of your income with absolutely no warning. And you cannot run a successful or sustainable business in this way. Remember, if this is your main source of income, you have to protect yourself. So instead, I would advise using a system like Stripe. And before you're like, oh, but they take 2% of my payments and the way I do it at the moment is free. Trust me when I say that this will more than pay for itself in that 2% with the hassle and the time saved, and also just in money earned. Number 3, let's move away from finances for a second and talk about knowing your limits. As we already said, 80% of PTs quit in the first year. And my guess would be that a lot of this is due to burnout. I think when I started off as a full-time PT, I pretty much burnt out every other month at the beginning because I just had no idea of how much work to take on. Obviously, when you're in control of it and you're yourself and you get inquiries and you're like, yeah, cool, more clients, more. I was just chased in that. It also happened quite fast, which kind of didn't give me enough time to catch up and work out how I was feeling and how much work I wanted to take on and actually how much work I was capable of. I went from about £0 per month in in-person PT income to around 6k per month, all within about a 3-month period. And for me, this often looked like doing 25 hours plus of coaching per week, which if you work a normal job, doesn't sound like very much, but in-person coaching hours are very different to kind of normal working hours because an hour of PT is so high energy. And on top of that, you have to do all the other work things outside of these hours. So they are definitely not the only hours you are actually on or working during the week. Now, I will share my own kind of coaching limits and boundaries with you guys, but I really don't think it's my place to set kind of guidelines and tell you how much you should and shouldn't be working. Then this is completely up to you. And I do think that sometimes it takes a little bit of trial and error and almost kind of working out where that boundary of burnout is and where that happy place is financially. But definitely once you've worked this out, plan your clients, your schedule, your sessions around that, because this has to work for you. After all, you are your business's best, most expensive, and pretty much most important asset. If you are self-employed PT, you are your service. So you need to take care of you if this wants to be a sustainable long-term career. So for me at the moment, my coaching limits are no more than 3 hours back to back. Ideally, I would do 2 hours, so maybe a PT session and a group coaching session, then have a short break, maybe 15 to 30 minutes, have a quick bit of food, get some water, stretch my legs. But I will do 3 if needed, and I will be fine doing that. I know that after that, if I try and do 4 hours back to back, my session quality drops massively. So this isn't about just me being tired and wanting a break. It's about actually being able to provide a great service to my clients. And usually that 4th person of the day, if you are doing those 4 hours back to back, is paying the same as the person that was your 1st hour of the day. So in my opinion, it's really not fair to not show up your best self to this session when you did to this session. My second limit is no more than 6 hours total coaching per day. Again, after this number, and you know, this isn't always possible, sure, now and again it happens if I'm covering holiday or covering sessions at the gym, but post 6 hours of coaching per day, again, my session quality just drops. I'm tired, I can't give as much energy and enthusiasm to each client or each group. So in short, clients just don't get the best of me. And finally, no more than 15 hours coaching per week. I'm working towards a slightly lower number at the moment. Obviously that takes time. Ideally, I would be doing something more like 10, but this isn't always possible, again, with cover and coaching issues. And that 10 to 15 hours is for my personal PT clients and also group coaching at my gym. This number might sound quite low or quite high to you, but this is based on my personal circumstances, my situation. I run a gym, so I have a lot of stuff to do outside of this, like social media, business forecasting, admin, programming, lead generation, consultation, social media evidence there that already. I feel like I'm doing that all the time, and client retention. So play around with it, see what works best for you. How many hours can you do in a row? How many hours do you want to do per day? And how many coaching sessions would you ideally do per week? Where's that happy spot? Number 4 is feeling responsible for my clients' progress and more widely just their general life problems. Chances are you're probably spending an hour a week, maybe up to 3 hours a week max with this person. And that is still such a tiny proportion of their week. So within that hour, 2 or 3, you can do your best to guide, motivate them, support them, inform them, encourage them to develop and build healthy habits. You are not responsible for what happens outside of those hours. You are not responsible for their problems or their progress. And I say this not because you shouldn't care, you absolutely should. And if you are a nice person and you're a passionate coach, you will be super invested in your client's progress. But I say this because I used to care way too much, to the point that I would take on people's stress and their obstacles and barriers, and I would make it my personal mission to solve them. You cannot make someone change their behaviors or habits, even if you are going above and beyond, providing all the extra accountability, session plans for when they're not with you, check-ins, and whatever else you might offer, but you cannot do this for them. You can only guide, inform, support, motivate, inspire. That is your job as a PT. And I think it really helps to remember that those hours that they're spending with you, even if it is just 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week, maybe max, they are a positive influence in their life. You are a positive influence in your life just by them coming to those sessions. So do not forget that. And do not blame yourself when people are struggling. You can help and you will do your best, but it's not 100% your responsibility. Usually someone's progress or someone's fitness is reflective of what is going on in their life as a whole. They might have a super stressful job. They might not sleep very well. They might be struggling with so many other things. And you can do your best to meet them where they're at. But if things aren't going quite how you or they planned, that is not because you did anything wrong. Do not forget that. Finally, number 5 is having policies and actually sticking to them. In my experience, having a cancellation policy is really easy. Actually sticking to it, not so easy. Especially if you have kind of people pleaser tendencies like myself, you will just always want to say yes and let people off. So here you really got to brush up on those communication skills and get comfy with those uncomfortable conversations sometimes. Doesn't need to be a formal contract. I started out having super relaxed kind of written agreements. Even a verbal agreement or discussion is better than nothing. And let me emphasize that these cancellation policies are not in place to take money off people and not actually provide the service. That is not the case at all. This has to be in place so that you don't get messed around and that you're not constantly chasing sessions and then having to pause payments because people have so many to catch up on. So I use 24 hours. If someone cancels within that 24-hour period before the session, let's say it's 8 a.m. on a Wednesday, if they cancel during that 24-hour period, I just say I cannot guarantee that I can reschedule that session. For me, if they cancel during Tuesday morning, that's usually pretty fine and I will be able to find a slot later on in the week. However, when it gets to kind of Tuesday night, my Wednesday's already planned out, especially if it's late in the evening, maybe I've already set my alarm and gone to bed. That's when it gets a little bit trickier, and depending on my day, it might use one of their sessions. Like I said, I will always do my best depending on the circumstances. Of course, I will try and be flexible because inevitably there's going to be times that I will have to cancel as well. But my clients are aware that there is a chance they may lose that session if they cancel within that period. If it's an hour or even less before the session, I'm usually up and ready or at the gym, especially if it's an early morning one. There's no chance you're going to fill that slot and you've already planned your day around that session. So it's not really fair on you to have to extend your working day later on or add in extra hours later on in the week. Again, I will try and be as flexible as I can. And with enough notice, you know, if it's the day before, then I can shimmy a few things around, make the spot available for something else, or plan to do something else with my time. And in my experience, clients usually respect and actually expect you to do this. Other services have similar sort of policies. If you last minute cancel any hair appointments, you might have to put a deposit down for getting your nails done so they can protect that slot. Or you might have to prepay for physio or a massage or anything like that. And this is so that us as PTs and physios and nail techs and whoever else can protect themselves and their income. For me, it's always been the case that some people will never cancel ever. And when they do, it's a really, really rare occasion. And obviously you will do your best to reschedule for them. And some people will be repeat cancellers. And sometimes with those people, it's best to not let yourself continually be messed around. So ensure these frequent cancellers understand your cancellation policy, so you're not always chasing your tail with them and always having sessions to catch up on. So there are my 5 mistakes. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and also subscribe to my channel. If you're a new PT and you would like me to make more videos like this, then pop a comment below and I'll see you in the next video.